Imagine That, the podcast where we explore the magic behind the magic of your favorite theme parks. Join us as we pull back the curtain on the creative process, storytelling, and design principles that make Disney parks and beyond so immersive. Whether you're a lifelong fan, a curious creative, or just love spotting the details most people miss, you're in the right place. So get ready to tap into your imagination as we take a deeper dive into the lands, attractions, and stories that bring the parks to life. Let's imagine that together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Imagine That. I'm your host, Amanda, and today we're talking about Imagineer Claude Coates. But before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors, Sunken City Design, Getaway Today, and Where in the Park. Big shout out to our lamplighters, our Patreons, who are keeping that conversation going over on our Discord, which, if you have not yet joined, you totally should. It's free, it's a lot of fun, and we're there, we're hanging out, and we're talking about all things Disney parks. So be sure to click the link in our show notes to check it out. All right, so before we dive into our topic, let's say hi to the rest of the crew. We have Sam. How's it going, Sam?
It's good. It's good. I'm ready to talk about Claude Coates tonight. So he's always a good topic of conversation.
Absolutely. I'm excited too. There's lots to talk about him for sure. And also joining us is Kevin. How's it going, Kevin?
It's going great. Let's do this.
Let's do this. So, like we were talking about, we are shining a spotlight on Claude Coates. And if you have ever been on a dark ride at Disneyland, like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, or been on attractions like, Haunted Mansion, or Pirates of the Caribbean, or the Dinosaur Diorama over at the Disneyland Railroad, then you have experienced Claude's work firsthand. So we're going to explore his work around the Disney parks and even his time before that as a background artist for some of your favorite Disney movies. And then after that, we're going to do some armchair Imagineering inspired by his work. So lots to dive into today. So Sam, let's get started. Tell us more about Claude Coates.
Absolutely. So Claude Coates was a Disney legend in every sense of the word. He started his Disney career in 1935. And obviously that is right at the inception of the company starting with their animated films. And he very quickly knew that he wanted to work on other things. Wasn't really given a choice because Walt picked the right people for the right jobs. So Claude was moved into different parts of the company, and he did a lot of different things, from show writing to set design, animation. You think about it, he's probably done it. Claude Coates had a gift for creating immersive, atmospheric environments in animation. He helped shape some of the dreamy, surreal worlds that we get to see in films like Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Cinderella. But we know that in the 1950s, Walt had a new dream. He wanted to create Disneyland. And that's when Claude made the leap from film to theme parks, becoming one of the very first Imagineers, even though we know they were not known as Imagineers then. If you've ever walked through, like Amanda said, if you've ever walked through the hallways of the Haunted Mansion, gone through the caverns in the Pirates of the Caribbean, or if you've walked through the jungle area in Adventureland, you have stepped into Claude Coates' imagination. He focused a lot on mood, lighting, texture. A lot of the Imagineering terms that we use today come from Claude Coates. So we'll talk about those as we go on a little bit more today. He was a master at turning concept art into real three-dimensional environments that felt alive, even some of them literally being built out of cardboard for the opening of Disneyland. Being able to paint that way to create such texture is something that a lot of people cannot do, and Claude Coates literally was at the inception of making that happen for theme parks. So he kind of went from films to Imagineering or theme park design when the studio that was supposed to build Mr. Toad's Wild Ride could not make it happen, the backgrounds for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and Walt came to him and Claude and Ken Anderson and said, hey, you guys do it. And you don't tell Walt no. So they went along with it, and very quickly he started jumping into all of the other attractions for opening day Disneyland, and he worked on attractions all over the country. Claude was very trusted by Walt. Everybody knew that Walt was inspired by the things that Claude came up with in his imagination. It's talked about often if you listen to the Imagineering story and stuff. So later on in Claude's career, he did do things in Epcot. He did World of Motion. He kind of passed the torch on to Tony Baxter. So a lot of the things that he created as his like foothold in Imagineering are things that we saw Tony Baxter be influenced by as well. So something that I love about Claude is that he did not want the spotlight. He kind of just like, he built the spotlight and he lit the scene behind it, but he didn't want the credit for it. And he was very, very close to Walt, like I said. So we were talking before we started this, and I told you guys about Alan Coates, the interview we did with him, and that Alan was Claude's son, who also was an Imagineer. And when Walt couldn't get down to see pirates, he sent Claude down to be his eyes. And we know that Walt wanted to see everything that was happening, but Walt wasn't well enough to do that. So he trusted Claude to go down and be his eyes and tell him what pirates was like. And I think that is one of the most touching stories I've heard from any Imagineer ever, because we know what Walt was going through at that time and how important the theme parks still were to him. And for Claude to be that person for him, we know how special and truly important he was to Imagineering. He helped Walt dream the dream, and he helped him build the magic. So I think he's a legend for a reason, and there's a lot of things that have withstood the test of time. But he also agreed with Walt that theme parks would be ever changing, Disneyland in particular. And we have lost a lot of the things that he's worked on, but his son said he thinks he would be okay with that. He thinks that he would have wanted to see changes and adjustment and growth to better fit the theme parks and the guests as history changes.
I love that story so much that you shared about pirates and Claude being Walt's eyes. I mean, when I've heard that story before, but every single time that I hear it, I'm like, oh my gosh! Like,
I know.
Anything directly connected to Walt is very, very special, and to know that they had that relationship and that trust, and Claude knew exactly what Walt would be looking for and would be able to deliver that for him. So I think that is really, really telling of their relationship. Not only in working so long together, but also like the person, the man that both of them were. So I think that's really, really special.
And I think that's a testament to Walt as well, because Walt surrounded himself with literally the best people who all had the same dream and vision that he did. And they all just wanted to do what the next big thing and figure out how to bring something that was stationary and flat to life. And a lot of the credit in bringing those flat cardboard scenes to life goes to, Claude Coates. So.
I do want to point out, I think they were plywood, not cardboard, for anyone listening who's like ready to write to us. But yeah,
Yes.
no, they definitely did get along really well. And I recently read the Claude Coates book by Dave Bosser, or David A. Bosser, if you look it up on Amazon. And he definitely goes into the relationship that Walt and Claude had. And it was very interesting, where you can tell that like Walt got along with everyone. It felt like in Imagineering, but it felt like he really kind of saw Claude Coates as kind of his right hand man for a lot of the big projects at Disneyland once he got on board and was able to show how well he can interpret flat, like Sam was saying, into three-dimensional worlds. And she mentioned that he kind of mentored Tony Baxter, and the book actually starts with a foreword by Tony Baxter, where he tells a pretty cool story about how when he was still working as, I think it was like an ice cream scoop back working at Disneyland. That's Tony Baxter's origin story with Disney. He actually snuck into an area where they were working on Pirates of the Caribbean while he was still work in progress. He just wanted to take a sneak peek to see like how it was looking, and he was worried he might get caught and get in trouble. But while he was looking, he did get caught, and it was this really tall guy that was like, "Hey, you'd have a better view from down here." And he called him down, and it was Claude Coates, and he gave him a tour of like the entire ride and how stuff worked. And I mean, it's possible that that led Tony Baxter to really become an Imagineer, which, the story of Tony Baxter. Again, this episode's not about Tony Baxter. He definitely is also pivotal in many of the attractions that we love in Disney parks today. So it's a lot of fun to really see how everything kind of connects.
Figment in particular, just saying.
Well, for Tony Baxter, yeah.
Yeah, for Tony Baxter. I just had to throw him in there. You guys know I always have to if I can.
Of course.
I remember when
Yeah.
when I was in college, I met the guy who actually designed Figment. It wasn't Tony Baxter though. I don't
No, it
remember his
wasn't.
name.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that's a whole different episode though.
It
Again,
is. We will get to Tony Baxter someday.
back to Claude Coates. There's also interesting sections in the book where it tells the dramatic story that Sam just told, where Walt goes up to Claude Coates and Ken Anderson saying, "Hey, the studio that can't like that's supposed to do Mr. Toad can't do it. You guys do it." And like it even points out this is the more dramatic version of the story. You'll find out later it's not exactly correct. Something like that. Get to it where it says the full quote, which again, I don't know if anyone actually wrote down what he said, but I guess with a little more polish to Walt's statement, it's Grosh or Grosh. I'm not really sure how to pronounce the studio. They claim they're still around, so I guess I could have looked it up, but I did not. But Grosh Scenic Studio says that they can't finish Mr. Toad for opening day. You both know the film better than they do. You guys do it. It was kind of the quote that they say he said, which makes more sense because both of them did work on the Wind in the Willows segment of the that twofer with the Headless Horseman.
And we talked about before we started recording that like a lot of these things were not directly written down. A lot of it is water cooler talk and things that are just passed down over generations. People telling these stories about these incredible people, and you can just like hear somebody be like, "Well, Walt went up to Claude and Ken Anderson and said, 'Well, you guys got to do it now.'"
Again, they barely even knew that Disneyland was something that was happening. Mm-hmm. So they weren't part of anything with Disneyland until that moment where he went into the animation studio to kind of like, "Hey guys, stop what you're doing. You're going to go work on this now." And all of a sudden,
right.
like Claude Coates had to figure out how black paint works, like black light sensitive paint. So it's just yeah, it's a very weird world, and Walt was good at it though. Like Sam said, he knew how to pick the best people, and he somehow picked Claude Coates there to go from background artist on his films and his short animations to building full three-dimensional attractions.
Dark rides, yeah.
Yeah, they mention it many times in the book that like no one like at the time was better than Claude Coates at designing an indoor attraction. Like he got the most bang for the buck out of the space that he was given. And yeah, it's just crazy to think like this guy, that wasn't what he was doing. He was just painting backgrounds on things like flat two-dimensional works of art, a lot of watercolors, and yeah, it's just translated. Yeah, also in the book, it had a section that I didn't know about. So I don't know if it was in Sam's earlier podcast. I don't have a drink here to like celebrate Sam's previous podcast. You follow our show.
Oh.
But
oh.
but
which one? Okay,
but there's a story in the book where it's talking about how when they were designing the Grand Canyon diorama, which eventually went into where the railroad is at Disneyland. It's one of the things that the train goes by. Before that was put in, Claude Coates had also worked on a dinosaur diorama. And it was kind of between the two at the time, being like, "Hey, here are the two designs for how we can plus the railroad." And he was hoping for the dinosaur, at least Alan Coates, his son, maybe, was hoping for the dinosaur attraction to be added to the train. But in the end, because Disney was working on a Grand Canyon movie, they ended up putting the Grand Canyon diorama in instead. But then a few years later, when they were working on the Magic Skyway for Ford for the World's Fair, they kind of pivoted the storyline there a few times and eventually went, hey, let's put in dinosaurs. And Claude Coates was called and be like, hey, you're the dinosaur guy, put in your dinosaurs. And because they put the dinosaurs in that attraction, that's the reason why we have the dinosaurs on the train track today. So it's kind of a funny, like, it all kind of goes around. It's a full circle there. I know everyone says that at Imagineering, no bad idea gets put away forever, just gets put into a drawer until it's ready. And that one definitely did.
I haven't heard that story.
I didn't either. Like I said,
Wild.
I was reading, I was like, that's a very cool thing that I had no idea. It kind of blew my mind at the time. Like, I didn't know the dinosaurs were an option and they just Grand Canyon over. It just kind of always seemed like, yeah, the Grand Canyon came first and the dinosaurs were added later because they put it in the World's Fair. Then it's kind of how everyone else kind of glosses over the whole story. So it was neat to get the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Especially when we do digging into it, any Imagineer, but just Disney history in general. We get bits and pieces from different sources. And when we find that one missing piece that kind of bridges some other pieces together, that is like what we live for here on Imagine That. Like, we love those little tidbits and little nuggets of historical information and storytelling. So that is awesome. Well, I think it's time that we hear from one of our sponsors. Let's hear from another amazing artist, our good friend Louis Medina at Sunken City Design.
Yeah.
Sunken City Designs brings you art. Do you like art? I know I do. How about art based on Disney characters, like Mickey Mouse and the Oyster Thief? You know, that's actually from Alice in Wonderland, the best princess movie ever made. Also, we have some dwarfs that have their heads ripped off sometimes. Why? I don't know. It's because it's Sunken City Design. So go there, sunkencitydesign.com. Get yourself some great merchandise. You got posters and, I believe, clothes. Who knows? I got a cup from there, and it's fantastic. You like cups? Do you ever use those? I do. Go for it. Oh yeah, sweatshirts. Can't forget about those. You ever cold? Get yourself a sweatshirt from sunkencitydesign.com. Also, Wall-E. You know, that's the best movie ever made. Second only to Alice in Wonderland. All right, if you also like Walt's apartment, they have merch for that too. Where? sunkencitydesign.com. Hopefully you've already loaded up that site and you're looking at it and you have some items in your cart. Go ahead and check out as soon as you can because the show's about to come back on. All right, everybody, we appreciate you.
We do appreciate Lou and Sunken City Design. Be sure to check out sunkencitydesign.com for all of the latest and greatest designs and to see where he's going to be at next.
Definitely.
All right, let's get back to Claude Coates and learn more about him. What else do we have?
You got anything else, Kevin?
Yeah, of course. There's always more stuff to say about Claude Coates. I mean, we can go through all of his attractions that he designed or worked on. Before that, I mean, there was one other thing that I kind of wrote down that I thought was very interesting that I didn't know. There's a story about where Claude, Walt, and Roy, that's Roy O, and John Hench and a few others, they went on a NASA trip that included because, you know, Houston, we have a problem. That's where NASA's sometimes located out of. And they found some cool stuff for Tomorrowland, and like some of the stuff they saw on that trip kind of made its way into the parks. But the thing that really caught my attention was they said that the trip started where they met the architects of the Astrodome, which at that time had just opened. It's the like indoor dome stadium. I think it was like the first in the world where the Astros used to play. And it felt like they were kind of pitching like, hey, you guys could build mini Disneylands using this technology. And Claude actually apparently made like designs for mini Disneylands in Astrodomes. And he like made concept art for it. Apparently there's a few pieces of it left. It's not in the book though, so maybe someday they'll have it shared. But with the news of the Abu Dhabi like theme park being built, I wonder if they're going back to those sketches and be like, hey, what could we build indoors? What did
They
Claude
pulled those in the archives, yeah.
Right.
Wow. So it makes sense that they went to NASA because very quickly after, when did they take that trip? Do you know when they took that trip? Because
I
very
didn't
quickly
write it down.
after,
It did say.
so when Tomorrowland was first being designed, so after he did Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, he quickly went over to, I'm going to say, okay, Space Station X1, right, Kevin?
That sounds right to me.
Space Station X1, which was an opening day attraction in Tomorrowland. And he basically had to make a dome, essentially. It looked like North America, but it had to look like it was curved, like a globe. So we're thinking, okay, we see people do this on a small scale, but at that time, they had to do this on a big scale with a small budget and little to no direction on how to make this happen. It all had to come from their own imaginations. So Claude was literally like just there trying to figure out how to paint upside down. You think about like Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel. That's what I think about with Claude trying to paint North America for this curved part of Space Station X1.
He was lucky though. He had the help from Peter Ellenshaw, kind of a famous matte designer at the time for movies. But it is crazy to think that there wasn't an image of the Earth from space when they were designing that attraction. So it was just based off of how maps looked and trying to make it bigger. So it was an ambitious project. I mean, obviously it was gone before I was born. But I would love to see some good photos of it. I feel like a photo I've ever seen of it's kind of blurry and it's kind of hard to get a good angle of something that's so three-dimensional. But maybe someday I'll find the YouTube video that shows an actual like walk around of it and have it where it looks clear. But it sounds amazing. But I did confirm that trip happened 10 years later though, in 1965.
Oh, so they were going to be doing upgrades to
Yes.
Tomorrowland then. Interesting. Look at it. See? Bringing facts all around the place here. Let's go. Claude Coates for the win.
We're all learning something new together.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did work on Adventure Through Inner Space, which is an attraction where Star Tours is today over at Disneyland. They never recreated it anywhere, but it used Omnimover technology like on the Haunted Mansion. Again, it came out 2 years before the Haunted Mansion, so kind of predated that technology of being able to really control the show. Yeah, reading up on it, it sounded kind of like a weird trip where you just went through like kind of like lights and there weren't any animatronics. It just had like big molecules and stuff that you were kind of going through. Because the idea was that you were going through, I guess, water molecules, but as the size of an atom. The storyline there.
Yes. That's actually some of the most notorious photographs of Claude Coates are working on that attraction.
What makes them notorious?
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He also worked on the submarine voyage as well from 1959. He kind of designed the entire layout of that entire attraction back when it first opened. To go from painting backgrounds to the three-dimensional work put into the submarine voyage is just mind-blowing to me. To be like, hey, I'll lay out your entire track. I'll go through water and through these show scenes inside of a building, and we're going to make it seem as real as it can be. And yeah, somehow it worked.
Definitely.
But I love too, like with a lot of the Imagineers, that the environment in which they are working in, like you could easily be pulled onto a completely different project. You like, even if you're deep into one project, you can easily be pulled into something completely different, completely out of your wheelhouse. You're like, why am I getting picked for this? But it launches your career and into a different world, and it taps into your creative genius in different ways, and allows you to be just like use your whole realm of genius.
So, do you think that's still the case with Imagineering?
I think that there is some room for growth. I think that granted, just disclaimer, none of us work for the Disney company,
Yes.
or anything like that. So we are not providing insider knowledge or anything like that, but just based off of what we are reading and what we're seeing, and the final product, I think that there definitely needs to be some sort of going back to basics when it comes to Imagineering and comes to storytelling, and being more flexible in your creative space, I suppose. Like, I'm not saying to be pulled off of a project, but maybe like for your next project, you're going to do something entirely different just so you're not confined into the box that your tease is in. Let's try something completely different. And then, like if you wanted to do ink and paint and try your hand at ink and paint, if you wanted to, all of the wide variety of jobs that are around the Disney Corporation, just in general, there's so many other things that, just because you got through the door with one set of skills doesn't mean that that's where your passion truly is. You just need the the dip your toe in the water with different things, even just to observe other people doing it. I think that would be really helpful.
I know a lot of Imagineers actually start with show writing, and then they get, and I'm not saying like in the last decade or so, because I don't know that but like Imagineers that I've talked to in, the last, that were Imagineers 20 to 30 years ago, they started as show writers. And those, they're starting, like, to get their foot in. That's where they were getting their foot in, because show writing for Imagineering, for WDI, it could be as simple as writing the descriptions on a plaque of an attraction. Like Brian Collins, for example, Gertie the dinosaur. He wrote her little plaque. Like, that was one of his show writing jobs. He also was writing, like, his show writing job when he first started was writing the DVC tours for the resorts. So writing their scripts. There are so many different things that actually like fall into the different categories. So you can get very simple starts in the company. And I think it's just your initiative at this point, because there's not a Walt directing you saying, hey, I see your potential. I see the magic you can create. Let's try this. We are seeing more of people who like stick to their niche, because we don't have that person directing people and getting to know people on that personal level. That's just my opinion. I don't know. But that just reminded me of something that Alan did say, Claude's son did say, was that Walt never said something was bad. He never told you it was good either, but he never said something was bad. He says, let's try it this way. Or I'll be like, okay, this works. But he very rarely gave out compliments. And I think that to be one of those early Imagineers, that was just something that you had to understand, was like, you're part of this process with Walt. And Claude definitely was an example of that. And Claude led others in the same way.
Yeah, the book described it as using the term yes if instead of no
Yes.
but.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely, well, I wonder, and if anybody listening knows, definitely, hey, sign up for our
Definitely.
Discord and let's talk about
check us out on Discord.
But, yeah, but I wonder if Imagineering today allows you to just walk around, and just, like I said, just observe other areas, or are you confined to just, do you have to badge in and badge out to your little space, or can you roam freely around and like go check out the animation floor, go check out what they're working on over in the model shop? Are there those limitations, and or do you have free?
That's true. There might be more secrecy now than there used to be.
Right.
Yeah. I know the book describes Claude Coates as a guy who was in his office or over at the model shop, but usually at the model shop. Like, he was usually talking to people, trying to see what they were working on, trying to look at like the current work in progress, see what was happening. So he had that mentality. where there were other people like Mark Davis, where they said that he preferred to just be in his corner working on his project, leave him alone, which is probably why he kind of gets a bad rap sometimes.
No.
Which I don't know who does
No.
the PR for Mark Davis, right? I don't know if you covered it. I don't know if I missed it or not, but a lot of people with the Haunted Mansion, you'll see the story. I know I've seen it multiple times that Mark Davis and Claude Coates were at each other's throats, where it's like
Alan
they
says
did
that's
not get
not true.
along. Alan says it's not true. It's in the book saying it's not true. He was on your previous podcast, Everybody Drink. I think that's the name of the podcast.
Everybody drink.
But yeah, but the thing is that same concept though of Mark Davis and Tony Baxter with the Big Thunder Mountain was also a common story too, saying that Mark Davis to his dying day hated Tony Baxter because like what he did with his Western River expedition and turned it into Big Thunder Mountain. But then it turns out from Tony Baxter like that's not true either. So I don't know what happened to poor Mark Davis though.
I don't
They
know, but
decided
I
to
have
shove it down
had,
his throat.
yeah, I've had personal conversations with people that knew Mark Davis in real life, like, and they've said that he is not like that at all. Like he was not like that at all.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to mention something and now I totally forgot what it was. It's okay.
Oh.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right.
We were talking about like walking around to other departments and stuff.
Oh, yes. So, I mean, that was something that Walt wanted them to do.
Right.
But also, there wasn't competition at the time. There wasn't Universal Studios to compete with, you know?
Right.
So now we have, and like in WDI, there are a lot of Imagineers that have worked for Universal, and there are a lot of Universal creative directors that came from WDI. So it's a very, very competitive environment. So things may be more hush-hush.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
that's true. Which, if that's the case, and that's also, I get it, but it's also unfortunate because I feel like that limits your creativity and, you know, you're just, like I said, just observing what else is going on. And it might spark that creativity bug of, hey, I want to jump in on that. So.
And the thing is, we could very likely have highly creative individuals who are not built like other people, and they are stuck in this box, and they don't even realize that they have the potential that they have because they're not able to walk into a room where somebody's creating something and have their brain kind of turn it into something else and like, you know, follow those pathways. So, I mean, I bet Lou could walk through Imagineering and be like, I would do this that way and that way and that way, and then come up with something absolutely fantastic because he does have that creative brain. And I told him he was sick and twisted, and I was just joking. But his brain just works different. And we give him grief all the time for the way that it is, but we love his creativity. And I feel like there are a lot of people who would be a lot more out of the box, and we would see a lot of really, really cool things happening if that was happening.
What you're describing is actually cross-pollinating. And there's been a few different former Imagineers who I've talked to who've talked about how that used to be the norm at Imagineering, and it's not that anymore. Like they complain, like they're former Imagineers. I don't know what's like today, but like when they left, they felt like that was going out the window. You know, like they were losing that ability to just cross-pollinate with other people to figure out ideas and come up with new, beautiful flowers, essentially.
So the other person, I was thinking about another person who is highly creative when I was talking about Lou too. And you saying cross-pollinating just tickled me because his logo is a bee. So now I'm gonna have to give him a shout out and be like, hey, Kane. So Kane, this conversation reminds me of you. Now you have to listen to this episode. So
like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. He already does. So
okay.
Wonderful. But
he's in the Discord.
Yes, that's what I'm saying of like getting back to basics, right? And yeah, you're absolutely right. With it, there's just so much to gain from having a culture like that, and it just seems like that is not the case. I mean, even on the same projects, right? like with certain TV shows on Disney Plus, you know, we've talked about that. We're like, what is the right hand doing and that the left hand doesn't know about? And the story just veers off course because we're not on the same page. Like if we were in a creative bubble where we are able to all talk to each other, then you know we would be on the same page and create great things. So I think we need to get back to basics.
True blue sky.
Yeah. Be a blue sky. That's right. Well, speaking of blue sky, I think it's time to hear from another sponsor, and then we're going to jump into our blue sky session with some armchair imagineering. All right, we'll be right back.
Hey fam, what scavenger hunt are you doing?
Well, we are doing Where in the Park.
Do you guys know Where in the Park? Because we do.
We do. So how you play this is that they give you a deck of cards with an image on it, and you get to look around and see where in the park that is.
And they're fun. So if you like to find stuff, this is what you need to do.
The amazing game, Where in the Park, right here.
If you're a seasoned Disney park goers as we are, it's a fun, challenging even for the hardcore Disney parks fan.
We have played the Where in the Park games that we felt like, ooh, we got
Still
this
a
in
challenge.
the bag. Oh no, yeah, still a challenge, a fun challenge though, not an impossible challenge.
Check
Yeah,
them
really
out.
they get really close to details, and you're like, I have never even seen that. I don't even know.
Where in the park have I seen that?
The great thing about these is that they're not in attractions and they're out in the open places. It's meant for families to play.
Besides people who've been there a lot, it's fun for people that are new to the parks as well, because you catch some of those details that you would probably miss when you're first going.
So there's images that you are finding on one side of the card, and then the other has the hint and the answer that you can reveal if you choose to.
Before it was just the hint and the answer, but now if you really want the land,
It'll tell you
they'll
where.
give you the land for an extra hint. You guys can take as long as you wish without the hint.
Yeah.
Without the hint, it's hard.
But that's what makes it fun.
But they do not just do Disney parks, obviously. What other parks do you guys actually cover?
Universal and not all that good stuff.
East Coast, West Coast, and they're continuing to expand even more after that.
Check them out, whereinthepark.com, if you need to get some game packs. They are so much fun.
We appreciate Where in the Park.
They're awesome.
We love
Kevin and
that.
Amanda.
Get you some Where in the Park today.
Hell yeah.
Use promo code Walt's APT Podcast to save 10% at whereinthepark.com.
Yes, get you some Where in the Park game packs. They're a lot of fun, and a lot of people are heading out to Disneyland in particular for the 70th anniversary, and that means that a lot of people are going to be in line for attractions and doing all the things, especially those that were original attractions. So the line's going to be really long, and you could be on a Where in the Park game while they're out standing in line, not playing Where in the Park game. So be sure to get some for your next adventure. All right. So today's Armchair Imagineering Challenge, we are throwing the question out there. What if we took some inspiration from something in Claude Coates' portfolio? It could be a film that he helped bring to life or an attraction that he helped create, and create something new with it. Something that reflects his style, his love for layered environment, something with storytelling. So you can either dream up a brand new attraction from one of his films that he worked on that is not currently represented in the parks, or you can take an existing attraction and plus it in a way that Claude might have enhanced it in his style. So it doesn't have to be an attraction he originally worked on if you don't want to. So who wants to go first?
I mean, I'll go.
Okay.
If nobody else wants to, I don't mind.
I can go first, but just want to throw it out there.
I know. Go ahead, Amanda. Go ahead. You go.
Okay.
Kevin and I have been doing a whole lot of talking, so you go right ahead.
My turn. No. Okay. So we were talking about the dinosaur diorama, right? And where there's a space that's missing some dinos right now? Animal Kingdom. I know. So I am going to be adding a new dinosaur attraction because we need to have more ancient things. That's what the plaque says. The dedication plaque plays off of ancient. And so we're bringing dinosaurs back. They're not gone. They're not extinct. And I'm putting in a new boat ride that's going to be like Pirates of the Caribbean. So not Navi River Journey, more like Pirates. But let me explain. So the line for this one, you're going to be walking through background cells, similar to how like Winnie the Pooh at the Magic Kingdom, you're walking through pages of a book. You're going to have like background cells that are in Claude style, and you're going to be walking through like the telling of Earth's evolution from current day back through time as you get to your boat. And these background paintings will be backlit so that you can have different projections and different things. So it's bringing his style to life as you are waiting in line. And you'll have the storytelling element with that as well. And then when you get on the boat is going to start backwards and is going to be like you're going back through time still. It's a continuation of going back through time. And kind of like how Frozen is, where like you go backwards a little bit, but not through like the whole thing. So you will then move forward and go down into different showroom buildings where you'll have different portions of what's happening with dinosaurs and the earth and all of this. And with each room that you go down into, you'll have the background facade will be in the Claude Coats style. And then you'll have, the three-dimensional dinosaurs and stuff, but they kind of like fade back into the background painting. So it's like they're coming out of the painting and into like real life, like not real life, but they're animatronics, like, they're moving around. And with each time you go down into a different room, you have like the temperature changes and the scent changes and the lighting and everything. And it's all in his hues and everything that he would normally play around with. So I think that it's going to be like you're in a moving painting, but it's also bringing in the dinosaur elements. And I just think that would just be a lot of fun.
I like it.
Yes, if it's not a water ride though, because they have that Universal down the road.
Yes, if.
Okay, fine. It doesn't have to be a water ride. I just thought it would be cool to like go
perfect.
backwards,
Yeah.
and have the.
You still go
have the
backwards in
drops.
other vehicles.
The American Eagle at Six Flags goes backwards at Six Flags Great America.
Wow, that's
like a roller coaster.
The Six Flags Great America in Chicago.
Yeah.
Now that we have two Six Flags Great Americas in this country again.
That's true.
Yes, the one in Chicago has so at night the coaster goes backwards.
That's
I don't
pretty cool.
recommend. Don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Does it
Yep.
go forward
You ride
as
the
well, or is it
entire
just
ride backwards. So no, not during the nighttime. So during the daytime it goes only forward, and then nighttime it goes completely backwards.
Got it. Yeah, at least around them over our Six Flags Magic Mountain, every once in a while one of the rides would run backwards for like a season. But I don't think that they've done that anytime recently. People, like you said, I don't recommend it. I think it's
No, you get whipped around. It's like the last time I was at Six Flags. I was like, don't ride the Demon. And Kevin's like, I love the Demon. I was like, well, you like getting beat up. And he was like, well, ours doesn't beat you up. And I was like, ours does.
I want to Santa Clara was better maintained by Cedar Fair.
Yes, probably.
This is becoming a whole different.
Oh yes, sorry. Hey, sorry.
Veered off course.
I like that, Amanda.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like a lot of that. I like the idea of it being more artistic than like realistic as well. So that way it's kind of like, hey, here's like more of a story about dinosaurs than here are dinosaurs trying to attack you. Because like I said, it's up the road right now at Universal, and Disney's version of it is not anything that anyone really like loved, I don't think. I mean, I know every ride is someone's favorite ride. I understand that. I'm sure someone, when Dinosaur goes down for reals, they're going to be really heartbroken. But personally, I thought that ride was kind of lacking. So I'm excited to see the Indiana Jones that's getting put into it, whatever they're going to change versus the one we have here in California. But if they also added this dinosaur ride, I'd be very happy about it.
And they need a spot to
Again,
put those dinos in. I'm not saying an IP dinosaur, but like
Yeah.
bring those other dinosaurs, where they're like, oh, not our dino, bring those dinosaurs into this boat ride. And like, or whatever ride vehicle you would like for it to be.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I like that you incorporated the storytelling elements and you made sure to focus on his the visual aesthetic, because we know that that was something that he did with the backgrounds and the storytelling through the physical environment. So I like that. So I'm going over to Paris Disneyland because
okay.
they have their Lady and the Tramp inspired restaurant. But I don't think that they have Bella Notte, I think is what it's called. It's just like, it's like a pizzeria, I'm pretty sure.
They have a Lady and the Tramp themed restaurant at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
I think they have one in Paris too. Do they not?
Like the one in Magic Kingdom?
Well, because I just didn't think I could fit it in the.
They had room for a huge theater that they were going to build back there behind that. So there's plenty of room for a ride at Magic Kingdom on Main Street.
This is a blue sky session, Sam.
I mean, we can go for it.
And you put it there.
All right. I was like, I didn't think there was going to be room, so I was trying to fit it in Paris. Dang. Okay. So
you do you. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
listen, we'll put it wherever the heck it fits. So, again, like Amanda was saying, it will be very aesthetic. So you would like go in through like a cozy alley behind Tony's. There'd be lots of lighting, like gas lamps glowing, soft accordion music playing. Like they can push through the scent of freaking garlic bread if they wanted to, and I'd be okay with that. And then the ride begins. So that's like how you're getting into the attraction. That's the cue. And then when you begin the ride, you end up in Lady's little house, and it's Christmas time. And so like the lights are twinkling, there's snow falling outside, and things quickly change. And then Tramp shows up and you're pulled into his world. So you're quickly pulled into his world, city parks, the pound, dog watcher chase. And then everything is just very Claude Coates inspired with the details. And the lighting, the way that the lighting is. So that is going to be the biggest focus on the ride. And then candlelit detail all over the place, like we see in the actual scenes of the movie. And then the final scene, you could just be like surrounded by puppies, like puppy animatronics with like warm glow. And yeah, I don't know. I was like Lady and the Tramp because there's so many like romantic, pretty elements, and kind of like with the art style of, this is going to sound weird to say, okay, the art style of Lady and the Tramp, it's almost like you have to make love to the art. And I feel like not like that, Kevin, calm down. I saw this show. This is.
That is weird to say. You're right.
But I mean, like, never mind. I'm just Lady and the Tramp. That's where we're going. That's where we're going. But just like a quaint, very cute thing just to put in. You could have puppies. You could have candlelit aesthetic. You can have like it obviously is going to go from slow paced to faster paced because you're being pulled into Tramp's reality from Lady's reality. So I think it could be fun.
Yeah.
Sounds sweet.
Does that sound sweet?
The scent of garlic bread. Then
like in the queue. Can you imagine it? Garlic bread in the queue. They should just have.
Deathly hate garlic for some reason. I personally love garlic, but I know there's some people on this planet who have it where garlic is their least favorite smell.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very sad.
I feel bad for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
So they might get in line for your ride and start gagging, but other than them, I think
Well,
it sounds like a good idea.
we'll have an emergency exit.
Oh no.
That's funny.
Have some airplane barf bags available for them.
It doesn't have to be like that.
This is not a it's not a
Fine.
thrill ride, but we do pump in the garlic smells.
We do. It can be a thrill ride though, because you can like go slowly. You're like, oh, like it's Christmas, and oh no, she just met a bad boy, and now here she is being pulled through the city streets, running through the pound. It's an adventure.
It is.
So it's a roller coaster now. I like this.
I mean, it was going to be a
Very
dark ride. It was going to be a dark ride, but like, I mean, it's a blue sky session. So if you think we can make it a roller coaster, let's do it.
Yes, if it's a roller coaster.
Yes,
Okay.
if. That's going to be our new thing on this show is yes, if.
Yeah.
Because I know over here we have at our university, just keep talking about them because like they're part of the game now. There's the Secret Life of Pets ride that kind of like I was picturing that the whole time you were talking, where
Me too.
you're on like a dark ride, a little like it's not a full-on omni mover, but it's a vehicle that moves through slowly through pet environments, and it's not as romantic as you're describing for Opportunity and the Tramp.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it doesn't go through multiple speeds like you're describing, but that would be fun. So yeah, it with the conveyor belt that Secret Life of Pets have, they wouldn't work as much, but definitely if it was a dark ride system, then yeah, that would definitely work. I like it.
Thanks.
Well, I think real quick before we hear from Kevin, I think we take our last sponsor break, and then yeah, if you want to go to Florida and go to the Magic Kingdom to see Sam's new Lady and the Tramp attraction, or maybe Disneyland Paris, then you need to go call Getaway Today, and they will help you out with that. So let's hear more from them, and we'll be right back.
It's been a great show so far, but who's ready for an ad break? Did you know that the best way to keep our shows going is by supporting our sponsors? So let's get to know more about the travel experts at Getaway Today. They've been helping to make vacation dreams come true since 1990. And whether you want to visit the happiest place on earth or to travel to Orlando for a most epic adventure, they are there to help. Are you trying to find out which hotel is your best option or which theme park tickets will work best for your visit? Are you concerned that you might need a last-minute change? No worries. Their travel experts will help you out. Looking to book a cruise but don't know where to start? Hey, they can help with that too. They will find the perfect cruise for your vacation, whether it's your first time or you're a well-seasoned cruiser. When you book your cruise with one of the Getaway Today experts, you will have a dedicated agent to help you every step of the way. They take care of the details so you can have the most fun. Getaway Today offers peace of mind travel, allowing you to cancel or make changes up to 72 hours before your trip. You will always have the most up-to-date vacation information, both pre-arrival and upon welcome. Getaway Today guarantees the best prices, with no hidden fees, and every time you book through Getaway Today, they will donate a portion back to a charitable organization in your area. And so far, over $4.5 million have been donated. So go ahead and dial 1-855-GETAWAY, that's 1-855-438-2929, and be sure to tell them that Walt's Apartment sent you. Or just click the link in our show notes for more information and the best deals to start your Disney, Universal Studios, or cruise vacation planning. What I'm trying to say is, if you like to travel, check out Getaway Today. All right, so now it's time to get back to enjoying that view from Walt's apartment. Let's get back to the show.
All right. So, as we round out our conversation, Kevin, let's hear from your Blue Sky Stellar sessions. Where are we going to next?
Blue Sky Cellar. We didn't mention his work at Epcot, right? He
No, not
worked
yet.
on Universe of Energy. He was the project show designer. World of Motion, Spaceship Earth, The Land. He did initial concepts and designs for all three of those. And Horizons, he did initial concepts and designs for as well. Out of those, Spaceship Earth, The Land kind of is still there from when he originally designed it, but a lot has changed since back then. But I bring all that up because of Horizons. I went on that ride when I was 10 years old, and it was gone when I went back to Epcot years later. And I want to bring that back, but updated for like the technology that we have today. Trying to go through to like get some notes on like what this even was, because like it's hard to describe. It's like you were on a ride vehicle kind of going. Did you ever go on this one, Sam? I don't know when you
No, I
first went
never
to Epcot.
did. But there are so many people who agree with you that Horizons needs to come back.
Yes.
It's a
Like, I love
popular
the Universe
fan
of
thing.
Energy. I never went on World of Motion. And Universe of Energy I love, but I love Cosmic Rewind a lot more. So, you know, call me what you want to with that. As far as design of actual attraction versus a roller coaster with some really cool theming, I don't know. I was sold on it. For Horizons, though, I would trade it for Horizons just to go back on that ride again. Um, Again, like if we could update it, because I know it had like screens that were obviously standard def and all the fun stuff from 1983 that existed that, we can totally blow it out of the water today if we redid it. I'm sure if you dusted off Claude's old concept designs, you can make something with today's technology that look even better. That's about as far as I've gotten in my blue skying over here. Um,
That's okay. I
so
really
yeah,
like it.
yeah, so that's what I want to go on.
And the crazy thing is, like, we still have his original concept art. And that was something that was so incredible about Claude Coates, was his ability to take concept art and turn it into something that looked like the concept art and was incredible. And that is something that, I mean, Lou especially complains about, is we get concept art, but we don't get that replicated in the parks. So maybe that is a good place to start, is going back to, that Horizons concept art and trying to take Claude's work and bringing that vision, back to life, just making it more modern. I like it, Kevin.
Yeah. And like Sam said, there's a lot of people who would love to see Horizons in any way, shape, or form we can bring it back. So why not? Horizons 2.0.
Another thing I don't think we brought up was Carousel of Progress, where he actually designed a different attraction for Science Land over at Disneyland. That was supposed to be the same concept of you were, sitting in a theater that moves around a show that's happening, but it was going to be a different show. That what ended up being put into the World's Fair was what we know as Carousel of Progress, where that show is actually designed to be like a thing that you would walk from one show to the other over in Edison Square for Disneyland, over in that corner to the right of Main Street. But they ended up converting that into his carousel idea for a theater. And they actually used that concept again, but flipped it in Japan back in 1982, I think. When they opened up, or actually 1983 is when the park opened. So that's when this Meet the World show opened, where it was flipped, where people were sitting in the middle while the show rotated around them, or maybe they rotated while the show was around them. I didn't get to see it because it closed about 20 years ago. And I just learned about it today that that's what that show even was. But if we could use that technology for more like entertainment, I'd be all for it as well. Because I think that the Carousel of Progress idea, as far as you are sitting in a theater that moves around, show scenes happening, is amazing. They just need to update it with today's technology.
Well, I mean, that was literally what we talked about on our last episode. I said that with like Carousel of Progress, we should be showcasing new technologies and stuff. So, I mean, I'm down for that idea, obviously, because I had the same idea. I just didn't know Claude had it first. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and the story doesn't have to be Carousel of Progress either. Obviously, they did like America Sings in that same venue, and I don't know if there's one other or not, but they can do more things with this concept that they just never have, and I would love to see something go into the park that really wows us.
Definitely. And I mean, bringing that science aspect, Science Land, into Tomorrowland makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They ended up building Space Mountain there instead. So again, sometimes the roller coasters win. It's like Universe of Energy all over again. It's just history repeats itself.
But the thing is, we have this information. We have the archives. Yeah. There are things
and we have a lot of room in Tomorrowland to make it happen. So
and we look back at these people as creative geniuses, and they have hundreds of ideas that are sitting in the archives that have never been pulled back out and looked at. Or if they have been, like, nobody's had that same passion. They need people like us to be like, no, look at this was Claude's concept art. We can make this happen, and we can use advanced technology, and we can bring, what did I say earlier? Like, he didn't just dream the dream with Walt. He built the magic. His designs, his ideas still have Walt's heart in them.
Yeah.
They can feel free to send us the check whenever they're ready for our unsolicited ideas.
They can. And I mean, or they can give us access to the archives. We'd be okay with that too.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
We cross-pollinate for you guys.
Disney, we will cross-pollinate. We know that you are listening. You are listening right now. We always have listens. And so call us. We'll have our people call your people, or vice versa.
That's right. All right. Well, any other things before we close it out?
I think I got all my points in. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would be okay with Disney coming to us right now and saying, you guys do it.
Sure.
Yeah. We're always
like Walt did to Claude.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We have proven that we have what it takes. We think outside the box, and we can make some magic happen. So
we know more about it than Grosh Studios or Grosh Studios, whatever
yeah,
it's called.
exactly.
I have no idea how to pronounce that. So
we're at Claude Coates' story right now.
Still today.
Yeah. Put us in, Coach. We got this. All right. Well, if you have enjoyed this episode, please scroll down on your podcast player and give us a 5-star rating. And if you have an extra minute to leave us a written review or just share it with another armchair Imagineer, that would be amazing. It only takes a couple seconds, and it really tells Apple and Spotify and YouTube and all the other players that we are doing something awesome here, and it just helps out the channel. So if you are checking us out on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode, and be sure to check out our amazing sponsors, our absolutely free Discord, and our Patreon page for more details. Links and everything are in the show notes. Until next time, continue to place trust in the magic of imagination, and remember, the details within the parks surround us in our everyday lives. Imagine that. Bye for now.
Come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.